requested by our user. Here are 3 disturbing true Snapchat stories. 3. The last snap. Okay, so this happened on a Friday night, and my friends and I were chilling in the living room, just snapping each other and sending memes. I was Snapchatting my friend Sarah. She was homesick from school with a fever. I sent her a meme that was like me trying to be productive, and then she sent me a picture of herself, and her face was all red and swollen. It looked like one of those pictures where they show you a before and after, and you have to guess which one is which. I said, "Holy crap, Sarah, what happened to your face? Are you okay?" And she replied, "Yeah, I think I'm fine." I don't know what happened. Then we started making fun of her and calling her Mr. Potato Head because her face was all red and puffy. And she started sending us selfies trying to make it look better with filters and stuff, but it just made it worse. After a bit, she stopped responding. So I thought she was just getting more upset about us making fun of her. But then she sent us a video and it was really messed up. She was sitting on her bed and she had a big gash on her arm. She slid the camera down her arm and the whole thing was covered in blood. My friends and I instantly got really freaked out. We thought she might have done something really stupid like cut herself. So we told her to FaceTime us. She agreed and picked up right away. But Sarah couldn't respond because she was clearly in a lot of pain. Then she kind of moaned and turned her head to the side and spit up blood onto the bed. That is, when we realized that she probably wasn't well enough to take care of herself, and we should probably get someone else involved. My friend called Sarah's mom and I stayed on the phone with her while we waited for her to answer. When her mom finally picked up, I quickly explained what had happened and told her that we needed her to come over as soon as possible. Her mom sounded totally fine, and she was like, "Oh no, you guys don't need to worry about her. It's just another one of her allergic reactions." Then she hung up on us. At that point, Sarah had gone completely still. So I started telling her mom about how she had a gash in her arm and a bunch of blood everywhere. She just kept saying that it wasn't a big deal. Finally, her mom arrived at my house about 30 minutes later, and she walked in. We instantly got out of there because we were just so weirded out. But I could see Sarah's mom looking super worried and rushing over to her. That was the last time I ever heard from Sarah. The next day at school, people were talking about how she had been taken to the hospital by ambulance and put into a coma. Turns out she had some sort of anaphylactic allergic reaction to a bug bite, and that est what caused her face and arm to swell up. Even though it's not a ghost story, it still creeps me out thinking about how bad things could have turned out. Number 2, sudden friend request. So I used to work in retail sales, which meant I had a ton of downtime where I would just browse on my phone. One day I was scrolling through my snaps, and I got a friend request from someone I went to middle school with. I hadn't talked to him since 6th grade. He also wasn't exactly a stand-up guy back then, so I was a little confused as to why he wanted to be friends. I accepted the request, and he immediately sent me a snap of his dog. I was like, "Whoa, nice dog." Then he asked if I remembered him. I said, yeah, I think so. And he said, "You haven't changed a bit." I had no idea what he meant by that, so I just ignored it and asked him how he was. He responded with another picture of his dog. This time he had drawn all over it with a marker. He said, "See, this is what you're missing out on." Then I said, "Wait, what did you do?" And he replied, "Nothing, just having fun." I really didn't feel like dealing with whatever weirdness this was, so I told him that I had to go and get back to work. He seemed to take it pretty well. He said, "Okay, cool. Text me later," and I just left it alone. For the rest of the night, every couple minutes I would get a new snap from him, and they just kept getting weirder and weirder. First he sent me a picture of his shoes, and they were both untied. He said, "Got these for you." Then he sent me a picture of his socks and underwear, and he said, "Wear these for me." At that point, I was starting to feel really uncomfortable, so I blocked him and moved on. Number 1, deadbeat dad. When I was in middle school, I had a ton of anxiety, and I would always feel sick to my stomach when I had to talk to people. It was so bad that sometimes I would stay home from school because I knew I would be able to handle going into class. One day I was staying home sick, and I was just laying in bed feeling miserable. Around noon, I got a text from my mom. She said, "Hey, why don't you go outside and play for a bit?" I said, "No, I don't feel well." She said, "Come on, just go for a walk. It'll make you feel better." So I decided to listen to her, and I got dressed and went outside. I just walked around my neighborhood for a while until I came across the park. I sat down on a bench and pulled out my phone. That's when I got a Snapchat notification. It was from my dad. I hadn't heard from him in almost 2 years. The only reason I even had him on my friends list is because I couldn't bring myself to delete him. Snap said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I replied, "Nothing, just taking a walk." He said, "That sounds nice. Can I see a picture?" And I sent him a selfie. He got back to me right away and he said, "Who's that little kid in the background?" Then I snapped a couple more pictures and sent them to him. He said, "Are you at the park near your house?" And then he sent me a location pin. I looked at it and I realized that he was only 2 blocks away. I was freaking out inside because I hadn't seen my dad in forever. Even if I had, I never would have expected him to show up at my house unannounced. I was just wearing a hoodie and shorts and I had no makeup on. I looked nothing like I did in the pictures that I had sent him. I tried to respond and tell him that I didn't want him to come over, but it was too late. He was already at my door. I remember distinctly thinking he's going to think I'm such a slut. I'm wearing a hoodie and shorts and no makeup. And I'm 13. My mom opened the door and she was standing right behind me. She looked really surprised and she said, "Hey, you're here." Then my dad said, "Is this the daughter you've been hiding from me?" And my mom was like, "What are you talking about?" She turned around and saw me standing there and she said, "Oh, you scared me. I didn't know you were there." And my dad said, "We need to talk." And he grabbed me and started walking away. My mom screamed, "Don't touch her, you bastard." And she ran after us. We got to my dad's car and he opened the passenger door for me. My mom was banging on the window and yelling at him to let me go, and I was screaming for my mom to save me. Then my dad got into the driver's seat and sped off. To this day, I still don't know what he wanted to do with me or what he was planning. The scariest part is that I was only 2 blocks away from my house and my dad found me. If he had been willing to drive further, I probably wouldn't be alive.